maybe 2 weeks. I've been pretty consistent on this, doing this weekly. Had a little bit of a family thing happen. My grandpa passed away, and the reason I wanted to bring this up to start off because I was having a hard time going back to doing this because I didn't feel like it was right. Didn't feel right. Nothing really felt right. Honestly, it's just kind of a sudden tragic thing that happened, and I said more as I thought about my grandpa, I tried to think about like the man he was and everything he told me. And one of the things that kept coming back to me was he used to tell me about he's a truck driver. My grandpa that was his career. He was a truck driver, and he loved it. He did, and he loved telling stories about it. And he loved reminiscing about it and telling you all the crazy things that he went through, funny stories. And always when he ended, like when he told you the stories, he always told me at least, I wish if my body could still do it, I would do it. You know what I mean? I could still drive. My grandpa loved to work, and he didn't mind working hard, and he really loved what he did. And then maybe I kept thinking about that, and I kept thinking about, my grandpa, his journey is done here. You know what I mean? And I will see him again. But as far as here on earth, his journey's done. But while he was here, he always wanted to work, and if he was able to do it, and he was able-bodied, he would work. And I think that I shouldn't stop working because that's not what he would want. And whether it's my career or whether I do this, I'm going to keep pushing forward because that's what my grandpa wanted. And I think that's the way I will honor his legacy because that's what he taught us is hard work. And keep pushing on what you love to do. And this is what I love to do. So I'm going to keep pushing to do it. So that's just been in my head all week. As I remember my grandpa and the things that he had taught me and the example he had led. That's been in my mind. So I'm going to get to this. And I'm going to keep pushing just the way he would have. So let's get back to boxing, right? This is the weigh-in, top boxing MMA. And big fight this past weekend, Canelo Alvarez. And Canelo Alvarez is the best fighter in the world. And ESPN released their top 10 pound for pound, and he was number 2 with Terrence Crawford being number 1, which is ridiculous, right? And I'm not saying Terrence Crawford isn't one of the more talented fighters, isn't to the level of Canelo Alvarez, because he's right there with Canelo Alvarez. As we're talking about talent and level of boxing skill, knowledge in the ring, everything, capability, right? Terrence Crawford's right there, but he doesn't have the resume that Canelo Alvarez does. Okay, Canelo Alvarez is dominated from 154 all the way to 173. Now, 173, there's another champion out there, and you say he beat an old Kovalev, but I don't think Kovalev was shot at that point. That's what I don't think. I think Kovalev was still tough at that point. Okay, so to say like, oh, he destroyed an old Kovalev, no, he didn't. It's not like he wanted to beat down like an old Roy Jones, or it's not like he beat down, it wasn't one of those. Okay, it wasn't one of those. It wasn't Joe Smith knocking out Bernard Hopkins. It wasn't that. Okay, it wasn't that. It was still a very, very, very good fighter, and it was at a weight that it was 3 weights above, where he really is, right? He went to middleweight. Him going to middleweight at first was like, people weren't sure that was even going to happen. They thought he was too small. And he went to fight Golovkin, people thought he was too small. Then he went to 173, and he knocks out Kovalev, and now like, it's a wash Kovalev. Okay, well, Kovalev is tough at that weight. Kovalev is very tough at that weight. I mean, if he's washed, right, Kovalev, right, I don't see Charlo going to fight Kovalev, right? I don't even see Gilberto Ramirez, who's at 167, was at 167 for a while, super middleweight. I don't see him going to fight Kovalev. I don't see no one in a rush to go fight Kovalev. And Canelo went and knocked him out, KO'd him. Now he goes to fight Colin Smith, right? And now, the thing with the problem with Canelo, right, is the fighters there at these weights, right, at 173, 167, those are not household weight, like household name weights. Those are not superstar weights. 167 is not a superstar weight. 173, a lot of people talk about like Roy Jones, and Roy Jones was well known, but Roy Jones was never like a pay-per-view selling fighter because of the weight he was. He was like a light heavyweight. It was just it wasn't a selling weight. He was a cruiserweight. It wasn't a weight that sold. So Roy Jones never was like a mega pay-per-view star. It wasn't, because those weights don't sell. And Canelo is all that. And he's controlling everything, but he's going to fight guys that are not household names. And they're tough, because Colin Smith is very tough. He literally won a tournament with all the best 167s in the world. He beat all of them. He won a tournament. He was the best one. Now you have Caleb Plant coming up, who I think is maybe going to be like one of the most talented fighters at that weight, right? Most capabilities, but he wasn't Colin Smith yet. And if he would have fought Colin Smith, that's a toss-up fight. And a lot of people probably favored Colin Smith in that fight. And in Benavidez, if he would have fought Colin Smith, he probably would have had a hard time with that fight. And I think I would have favored Colin Smith in that fight. So it's like we're punishing Canelo for his greatness, and that's a mistake, and that's gonna happen. But you cannot punish him for his greatness. It's like LeBron James got to all these finals, right? And then people say, well, look, he has this many losses in the finals. But look at the teams he dragged there. See, we're punishing LeBron. It almost would have been better off if he didn't get to the finals. That's how we're punishing him. But he did get to the finals with an inferior team. He dragged them there. And that's what Canelo's doing. Canelo is so far superior that he's making fighters that it's almost punishing him that these fights are so easy, right? It would almost be better for him if him and Colin Smith went to war. And then you would say, well, at least he earned it, right? But because he's so great, and none of these guys are on his level, and all these guys have to go in survival mode, right? And people said that Colin Smith didn't go in there to win. He went in to win. He just realized he couldn't. He went in there to win the fight. He just realized he couldn't win the fight. And Canelo had too much to his game. He's the best fighter in the world right now. Resume, ability, everything. Add it all up, he's the best. Okay, Earl Spence, he's moving up, but he's not there. And he's far behind. Okay, he's moving up. Terrence Crawford doesn't have the resume. He did at one point when he dominated 140, right? And then you went to 147, and there's no one there. And these opponents aren't aging well either. That's another thing we have to realize. Is Postol not aging that great? Ndongo not aging that great. So these wins are not aging that great. Even Campbell's wins not aging that great. So you can't tell me the resume, right? You would have to really think, in order to put Terrence Crawford above him, you would have to think that he would dominate Canelo if they were the same way and fought. I don't believe that. Even Earl Spence saying that he wants to go fight Canelo at 160, he'll get knocked out because he's a great fighter, but he's fighting a great fighter that's 3 weights above him right now. So in that formula, he gets knocked out. It's the same as De La Hoya going to fight Bernard Hopkins. There's 2 great fighters. It doesn't mean De La Hoya is not a great fighter, but if you're going up and you're fighting another great fighter, he's gonna beat you. Mikey Garcia versus Earl Spence. So I don't understand how we're not seeing, and ESPN doing that. Well, I think Terrence Crawford's their guy, so I think the problem I have with ESPN, right, with Top Rank is they're really in with Top Rank, right? And I think that all their commentary and everything favors a Top Rank fighter, and it's not like HBO where HBO was separate from the promoter. They would be honest. I don't see honesty there. PPC, Joe Goosen, he's the more honest of the group, but all these the promotions signing having the commentary crew, being in with the station, being in with the channel that's playing them, I don't know. It kind of dilutes what you could hear in commentary because there's not a lot of honesty. And if we were being honest here, right, we would say that Terrence Crawford does not have the resume that Canelo does. He does not have even the resume that Earl Spence has right now. He doesn't, because Earl Spence is fighting at least the best 147s that he can get, right? And they happen to be in the top 5, just not Terrence Crawford. So no punishment. It's not Terrence Crawford's fault. He signed with the wrong promotion, right? He made a movie, financially secured him, right? But resume-wise, it's not the best thing for him because there's no one there to fight. So Canelo is number 1, and we're punishing him because he's such great performances he's had. And he put it on Colin Smith. And Colin Smith is not, he put it on like if he was trying to gain, like if you were doing like a tune-up fight. What Billy Joe Saunders, right? Well, Billy Joe Saunders' last fight, which was a tune-up fight, looked less impressive to what Canelo did to the best 167 pound fighter in the world. Canelo was more dominant in his fight. I'm going to say that. Canelo was more dominant and more impressive in his fight than Billy Joe was in this fight. And that Golovkin was in the fight before, the night before. Because Golovkin fought too. Golovkin fought a stay busy fight. And, I mean, it was still Golovkin, still skilled, still everything. He's there. Canelo has separated himself from the pack. And now Canelo's in a position of, well, where does he go from here? Now he's a free agent, which is a beautiful thing, right? He does not lock down anyone. So he can do a lot of things. But Canelo's almost in a position where none of these guys are really like the credible opponents, or none of them have really made themselves a must-see attraction for people saying Canelo fight this guy next. So he could almost fight anybody because it doesn't matter if Canelo's having the fight. He needs his opponent. He needs someone to say, I'm here. And no one has done that yet. And Caleb Plant's fighting Truex, which I don't think does anything for him personally. I don't think that's like gonna make me after if he starts his Truex. I don't think I'm gonna be like, oh, we'll fight Canelo next. That's the fight. I don't think the people are gonna say that. I want to see that fight, but I don't think that's the one that gets the casuals to say, oh, I want to see him fight Canelo. I have to see him fight Canelo. Now Charlo, he's doing his thing, but he's at 160, and now that Canelo dictates it, he's gonna have to go to 167. Luckily for Charlo, there's opponents at 167 the PBC has. They have Benavidez, they have Caleb Plant. Honestly, Charlo should probably be fighting Truex. That honestly makes more sense. He's going up in weight. You could sell it like that. He's going up in weight. He's just trying to show that he can let his power and ability comes up to 167. Truex isn't the most dangerous guy, but he's a credible opponent. So I'm curious because now Charlo's in a position, right, where he's in a promotion that doesn't have any middleweights. I have no one for him to fight. Canelo's doesn't have a promotion, but he doesn't have anyone that really makes sense to take the chances that doesn't really make sense to take the chances like a fighting Caleb Plant, because you're probably going to sell as much as if you fought just a tune-up fight, because none of these guys have big names and none of them are taking the chances to build themselves up to say, I'm the next guy to fight Canelo. Now, David Benavidez, to me, and Charlo make the most sense, right? David Benavidez is Mexican. He's big, he's powerful, oh, he's fast. You know what I mean? He has highlight reel knockouts, but he does not have that win that really this is the guy, right? He does not have that yet. And him and Caleb Plant, if they fought each other, I think that the winner of that would have that. Or if Charlo moved up, he fought a Truex, or he fought a Peter Quillen, and then he fought one of Benavidez or Caleb Plant or something like that, then one of these guys could start making a claim for it, but I'm not seeing it. And I don't think any of these guys are showing, taking a little less to take a bigger chance to really say, I'm one of the top dogs here. Now, Charlo, he had a very good win, but that's at middleweight now. And now that Canelo dictates it, there's nothing left at middleweight, unless you're going to fight Golovkin. But that's not going to happen. One promoter's on the other side, another promotion on the other side. And I just don't know. I think it's a good fight, but I don't think Golovkin's going to take that fight, because I don't know what he gets out of it, right? What he gets out of taking that chance when he's really the more name than Charlo. When Golovkin could just fight Manuga, who that makes way more sense, and that's the next logical fight, because Manuga's there to be hit. Golovkin right now is a little slower. He's not a little less precise. He's still very skilled, still very good, still hits hard. He's just not as pinpoint as once was. Not as doesn't have exactly the reflexes that he once had, right? So it just that fight that makes perfect sense. And then if Golovkin wins that, which this is not I've thought this, but people have said this, that if he wins that, he beats a guy from Mexico, then he could say I just beat one of Mexico's top rising stars. Now I want Canelo again. See, you have to build that up, because that fight doesn't make sense right now. It doesn't. Nothing I'm seeing from Golovkin to me is hyping up that fight. So Golovkin fights Manuga. Charlo says probably has to go to 167 now. Right, so now probably fights. I would say Peter Quillen makes the most sense to me. Peter Quillen and Gulo, one of those guys, right, at 167. Caleb Plant's gonna fight Truex. I don't know why, but he is. Right, he's gonna stay busy. David Benavidez probably have a fight. They probably set up a Benavidez Caleb Plant fight. That's the fight that makes the most sense for both of them. The thing about the PBC is that they manage these fighters. They're not really a promotion, so they manage the fighters. So they're gonna make what's best for the fighter. It's kind of a weird way to run a promotion, is to say well, I'm just going to look out for your best interest, but you're looking out for everybody's best interest. So how do people fight each other? I think the PBC leaves it more on the fighter, right? I think Danny Garcia is more willing to fight people. I think that Earl Spence is more willing to fight people. I think Porter, for some reason, the 147s are just willing to fight each other. Same thing with the 154s. Those two weights, the PBC is nailed. Everything else is just kind of over the place, right? Heavyweight division is not good. The PBC middleweight division is not good. Super middleweight division not good. They have not yet to turn it. I'm waiting for PBC to turn it up a notch with their fighters, but they have not yet to do that, because I don't think they want to waste fighters. I don't think they want to lose them, right? It's Thurman, Porter. Danny Garcia is still relevant, but I think you no longer see him as a pay-per-view headliner. I don't think you could sell Danny Garcia as a pay-per-view headliner against anyone, not even against Pacquiao, right? I don't even think you do it against Pacquiao. You need to rebuild him up. So I don't think they're in the business of knocking the fighters down. Now, when you have Canelo, who's a free agent now, He go any promotion, and when you that works best for both ways, right? Works for Canelo because he could pick and choose who he wants to fight, get the biggest name possible, not have to worry about, well, will this promotion work with this promotion. But also works for the promoter because when the promoter signs him, he could throw his best guy at Canelo, right? And because Canelo is above their best guy, it's worth the risk for them because if he beats him, right, he's now the guy, and you have him. You have your guy who beat Canelo. Now, if he loses, people already in their minds thought he was going to lose to Canelo, so he's really in no worse spot than he already was. I don't think Campbell Smith's in a worse spot than he already was. You know what I mean? No one thought he was going to beat Canelo. So him taking the chance was worth it. He was punching up. It's okay to punch up. It's okay to take that chance. And now everybody knows who Campbell Smith is. In America, England, he's already a big fighter. Now he's a name here. So now he could fight, let's say, Caleb Plant, Benavidez. And you would be like, oh, I know his skill level. I know what Canelo did to him. So now maybe it's worth it for another guy to say, well, Canelo did this to him. I'm going to knock him out, right? I'm going to go out there and knock him out. Now Campbell Smith could still get another name, right? He's still relevant. So there's nothing wrong with losing. And nothing wrong with losing Canelo. Because Canelo's the best fighter in the world. So I think at the end of the day, Canelo's still in a good spot, right? He got paid. He's a name. He's got fights that could be with Danny Jacobs still. He's got fights with BJ Saunders. You know, there's still fights there for him. What is the PBC going to do? Who in the PBC really wants it? And if Charlo does really want it, and let's say Charlo says, no, I'm just going to dominate the middleweight division. You can't do it with the PBC. Unless they're going to let you go to other promotions. Let you go fight Golovkin. Let you go fight more Murata in Top Rank. But they're not letting you do that. There's not really much to go. So you got to go 167. And because Canelo is such a star, he could dictate. He's dictating where everybody's going. Like apparently Andrade's a 167 now. BJ Saunders is a 167 now. Everyone wants to be 167 now. Not even Golovkin. They're talking about 167. That's what happens because Canelo took the risk. He's always fought the risk, and he's taken it, and now he has control of it, and we got to reward it. We can't say that he's not number one pound for pound. He took the risk. Terrence Crawford is turned to take the risk. He's got to figure out a way to fight these guys. And if Terrence Crawford, there's nothing for you at 147 right now. 154 is right there. 160. You know, Canelo moving up in weight. All these guys are moving up in weight, but to become stars, you have to do that. Look at Manny Pacquiao. Look at Floyd Mayweather. They've all done it. Now it's your turn. Earl Spencer, we're talking about going to middleweight. I think it's a bad idea to fight Canelo just right now. I think he's still in his prime. You don't start taking those fights, right? Unless there's no one left for you to fight. There's no more paydays for you at 147 or 154 because there's still paydays. Why would you skip 154, right? There's still paydays there for you. And Earl Spence is a pretty sellable fighter in boxing right now. He's probably one of the most sellable besides Canelo. So I don't think that fight makes like logical sense right now. They're not going to go to 160. I don't think the PBC will do that to Earl Spence. You've seen that backfire in a lot of guys' careers where they're never the same after taking a beating like that. And I think he would take a beating because he's just too small. And I don't think that his skill is superior to Canelo. I don't. I think Canelo is superior to him in skill. So it's not like a highly skilled small fighter fighting a lesser skilled big fighter. It's not like that. So I don't understand how that makes sense. We've got a big fight coming next weekend, right? We got next Saturday. Yeah, Ryan Garcia versus I can't think of his name right now. I hate when I blank on names. It's like always on here too. Let's see. Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell, of course. And I was scouting this fight out. And I think the interesting thing about this fight, right, is that Luke Campbell, right, Ryan Garcia is going to have he has better ability. He has better speed, better power, right? More natural gifts than Campbell has, right? He has more natural gifts than Campbell has. And that's what Ryan Garcia has really rode on all the way, to stardom, is his natural ability. Now, what Campbell has, right, is he's been up there with the top. And he shows that he can compete with the top. Now, he has yet to get the big win at the top. But he's been there. He's competed with Lomachenko. He's competed with Leonardis. He's there, right? He's been there. He's got the rub. He's He's shown that he's a proven, he's at that level to compete. He can compete at that level. Ryan Garcia has not competed at that level yet. Now Ryan Garcia has shown all the glimpses of what you need to be a star. But what we're gonna find out, why this is the perfect matchup, and this is the logical next step for Ryan Garcia, is when the physical capabilities are not enough to win the fight. When Mike Tyson fought Evander Holyfield, the physical capabilities were not enough to win that fight. When he fought Buster Douglas, the physical capabilities were not enough to win that fight. What else were you going to show? And Luke Campbell is not like defensively the most superior fighter. Luke Campbell is all on discipline. Everything he does is discipline, and he's got to keep like it's all timing, it's all distance. Luke Campbell is a very to the basics fighter, but he's very good at what he does. He's very basic. His defense is a high guard. He's not slipping and sliding. His defense is here. You attack me, I'm here. I'm going to back up. I'm going to come in straight. 1, 2, right? He's southpaw. He's coming in here. He comes in, jab. He's constantly touching with the jab. He's constantly touching with long. He's long. You jump in, left hook. He's a high-level amateur-style fighter. And not an insult. What I'm saying is a high-level Olympic quality, he's Olympic gold medalist, Olympic quality fighter. He has all the basics you need, right? But he lacks the God-given gift to put him above, to compete with the Lomachenkos, to beat the Lomachenkos, to beat the Leonarses, right? When he lost Leonardes, he would lose himself and trade with Leonardes when Leonardes is a naturally faster, more powerful fighter. Lomachenko, he didn't have enough to hold Lomachenko off, so Lomachenko broke him down. Up, down, boom, boom. Lomachenko, superior foot speed, superior hand speed, enough power to make it, continuous shots landing to break you down. And Campbell doesn't have the power to keep you away. He doesn't have the speed to, land numerous shots on you. He doesn't have the foot speed. So everything's got to be disciplined for him, the basics. And that's just exactly why it's a perfect matchup, because Ryan Garcia has not been extended to see, well, okay, so your abilities alone aren't going to get you a knockout in the first, second round. So what happens to 5th, 6th, 7th? Do you lose yourself? Do you stay controlled? Do you show us a new wrinkle to your game? Do you show us you could get a decision? Because I'm going to pick Ryan Garcia in this fight. Because from what I see, right, and I think that Ryan Garcia is very underrated, even though he's highly touted, if that makes sense, that we automatically assume that Devin Haney, Shakur, Teofimo, and Tank are just superior to him. I get like why people see that, because they're of more what we're used to seeing, right? They're fast, they're counter punchers, they're defensively, defensively you could see it, you can see what they're doing. You know what I mean? They move quick, head movement, block a shot, counter with it, right? They slip punches. They have all the things where you're like, I've seen this before and I know that's successful in boxing. But Ryan Garcia is a little different. Now he has the speed and power that we know, like, oh man, that's fun to watch. But then for some reason in your head, when you see it, you say, well, that wouldn't work against this guy. Wait, but why? Now, if I was thinking Ryan Garcia didn't have this fame, he didn't have the Instagram following, everything. We just saw a guy coming up and he was knocking everybody out. Right. And he had the height that Ryan Garcia had. He has Ryan Garcia is coming into his man body, so he's becoming wider. He has a physical strength about him that we saw in his last fight. We see the speed, the balance, the killer instinct that he has. I think that we would be a lot higher on him than we are, but because we think that he got famous because of Instagram and all that we think we take it away from like what he's done. And I think that Ryan Garcia is the most physically gifted fighter out of that weight class, and maybe out of all the fighters right now coming up, prospects, he's the most physically gifted one. And if his boxing knowledge is, which we haven't really been able to see, right? We haven't been able to see him in a fight that's like a chess match, which I think this fight will be. If it shows that holds up, well, then he's gonna be. To me, he will pass Devin Haney. If he beats Campbell, right, and he does it convincingly, he will pass Devin Haney and he'll pass Shakur, because Shakur, and Devin Haney are very good fighters. I'm not taking away from them, but they have yet to show me that next level. right? They have yet to show me that next level where I'm like, this guy's taking out competition that he is far superior than. I've seen them win on points, and I've seen them like Devin Haney versus Gamboa was not impressive to me. I thought it was a Gamboa that was honestly shot, and he wasn't really offering much. And I just thought that Devin Haney played it safe to a fighter that he was supposed to be superior to, but he was supposed to show me something else. And I think that these guys are forgetting that when you're a young fighter, you got to come and show something else. You got to show that next gear, and I haven't seen him improve to that next gear yet. To that next thing, I haven't seen same thing for Shakur. Now Shakur says he's going to do it when you'll see it when he against competition he's facing. So I think that Top Rank has to get Shakur some Oscar Valdez voucher. Mistake would be Lomachenko, but Lomachenko, if he wants to prove it like that, that's the only way that Shakur is gonna be able to convince me that he's at the level. Because right now I see him win these fights, but I'm thinking like, yeah, he won a decision. He didn't knock the guy out. He didn't blow him out the water. He didn't do anything that would show me that like that's the next level guy. If you put Canelo versus a guy that Alfonso Gomez, he's gonna knock out Alfonso Gomez. A young Canelo destroys Alfonso Gomez. I'm not seeing that with these guys. But I am seeing this Ryan Garcia. Every test we put in for Ryan Garcia, but now this is the ultimate test because everybody has come forward Ryan Garcia. Now you're going to say a guy that's going to box Ryan Garcia. He's going to say, well, no, the tricks you're pulling on the first 3 rounds aren't going to work. We're going to be fixed 5th, 6th, 7th round. Are you still going to be effective? Are you still going to be patient? Are you going to still be balanced? We're going to find that out. I think Ryan Garcia is. I think Ryan Garcia's power and speed is going to be effective there where it's going to keep Campbell from opening up. I think Campbell's going to come in, jabbing, keeping a distance. Going to be the first few rounds of Ryan Garcia kind of chasing him. And then as soon as Campbell gets a little too eager, I think Ryan Garcia is going to show him his power and speed. And I think that you'll start seeing Campbell giving up rounds because he's going to be tentative to jump in. And I think Ryan Garcia is going to win a decision on this one. I think Ryan Garcia is going to prove that he can do all those things that we want to see. And I think that we are going to see that. Now, Campbell is a very good boxer. And let's say he does just work the jab and moves and gets Garcia a little frustrated, and Garcia starts lunging him with punches, starts losing his legs. Well, Campbell's good enough to make it really pay for stuff, mistakes like that. And if he starts doing those things, I think that there's a good chance that he starts landing big shots on Ryan Garcia, because Ryan, his style is real, like his legs are real close together. Sometimes he turns too sideways, but I think that he's learning the style with Eddie Reynoso and all them, that he can put pressure smart, a good distance, and he's fast a good distance, and his hooks are good at a far distance, right? So I think that that's going to be really effective. I think he's a better counter puncher than we give him credit for, right? And I think he sees openings really quick. But let's say those aren't landing, and then let's say this fight gets extended, and in the 5th, 6th round he's not landing, and he's putting a lot into his shots early, and he starts tiring out. Well, Luke Campbell's going to make it pay. Then Luke Campbell's an experienced veteran, a notch below, like the great fighters, but very good fighter, and he's going to make a pay. So this is the perfect test for Ryan Garcia. I'm going to pick Ryan Garcia to win it. I think Ryan Garcia's going to win a decision. I think his power and speed are going to be too much. I think Luke Campbell, when he does get in exchanges, he forgets his defense. His defense and offense don't work together too well. He's mostly, I'm defending, and now I'm going for an offensive. And I think Luke Campbell will eventually begin to try to survive that fight and realize that the power and speed will be too much for him. But I think this is a very good matchup. One of my favorite matchups going into, would have been one of my favorite matchups of this year. Now it's going to start the next year. It's going to set Ryan Garcia up for some big things. Now, if Luke Campbell won, right, it would set him up for big things because Devin Haney is under the same promotion as Matchroom. And then that's an obvious, logical next fight for him would be if he beat Garcia, then he would go fight Devin Haney. And then he could just be the prospect destroyer. And he could get set up himself for a big fight with Teofimo, with Tank. You know what I mean? It could set up a lot of good things for him. So it's a really good fight for him. All right. I think I talked about everything I want to talk about today. Big UFC's coming up. I'll be, scouting those out, breaking those down for you. Thank you it's good to be back. This has been The Win.